Carter, the power Bryant. Good morning, good sir. How are you?
I wanted to be like Lincoln Riley and cancel this appearance this morning because I'm afraid of you, man. You're energized. You got the few days off, but I'm glad to be back with you, man.
I got to admit it. Look, as much as you know what's crazy, Carter? I've done more post-game shows for LSU baseball probably than anybody.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
And for the two times that they would have been the biggest shows, I'm out, right? But it was good to get away, good to refresh, get the mind right, playing, where AYS is going and things are going. So it was good to get away. But, man, I was still kind of at work because LSU baseball was dominating the entire SEC weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens versus Wofford. The Terriers are terrifying. Blake, I mean, their batting averages are up there. And apparently they have a pretty good pitcher coming up here. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple things. We'll talk about this a lot tonight because I'm going back live tonight again at 7, and it's going to be nothing but the baseball regional. But here, and we'll do SEC tournament recap and all that stuff. But here's my thing. The argument is about just Gage jump throw on Friday. Yeah. I mean, I would assume that that's what you need to do. But here's my thing. Wofford didn't play a damn soul. And the two teams they played, they got patty smacked. I'm talking about bent over, pull your draws down, daddy whipping you with a buffalo belt spanked. So the average is not, how do I want to say this? Don't look at pure numbers because when they play, like I went this morning and watched them play Georgia, patty smacked. Couldn't buy a run. Okay, like just awful. So I agree with you, but you cannot mess around with the Wofford. What's their mascot again?
I believe they're the Terriers. I still don't know what state.
I'm not scared of no damn terrier.
Yeah, I'm not either. In Wofford in Georgia, isn't that right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is in Georgia. But Carter, isn't it funny
no, it's in
North Carolina?
No, it's in South Carolina. It's in Spartanburg. Okay. That's where I used to do the radio show in Spartanburg.
And you didn't even know.
I didn't recall. I know that the Furman Paladins are in the Greenville area, but Spartanburg, I did not know Wofford was located there. So yeah, I'm excited. I think LSU finds a way to get through. I know North Carolina is a really solid team as well. Now I was playing the PD Pablo anthem when LSU made it.
Nobody got it.
Nobody got it.
No, but 2 hours before, I put the music video up of PD Pablo, North Carolina, born and raised.
You did it too?
To give people a hint, and everybody's like, "We're going to North Carolina State." I'm like, he's wearing Tar Heel blue in the music video. Like, what are we doing here?
I didn't know you posted that. I posted it too. I'm glad that the great minds think alike. But yes, I'm excited. North Carolina is a beautiful state, and it's gonna be beautiful when LSU gets out the regional. I'm excited.
Let's hope so. Carter, we got a lot of football that we need to discuss here though today, and I want to start off with this. I want to go around your SEC at the end of the of our show here. Don't let me forget about this because Billy Napier had some comments yesterday. SEC meetings are underway. Maybe some of your thoughts or takeaways maybe from there.
Wow.
Let's start off with this. Last night, Matt Hayes, who I think how do I want to say this? Out of every SEC coach that I have talked to, every one of them says the national guy that they talk to the most is Matt Hayes. Okay?
Right.
So with that being said, Matt Hayes last night on Saturday Down South wrote a piece that Lincoln Riley tried to get his agent, Trace Armstrong, to get to Brian Kelly, who is also Brian Kelly's agent's also Trace Armstrong, for USC not to play LSU. Now, the reasoning behind it, and I don't think a lot of people were saying, well, Lincoln Riley's scared, was Fox and the Big Ten were putting a lot of pressure on USC to cancel the game because they didn't want their first game of the Big Ten to be on ESPN. That doesn't come off that way. What comes off that way is that Lincoln Riley yet again is running away from the SEC. That 1,000% is what's coming off here. When you read that report yesterday, what did you think?
Yeah, and look, I feel the same way, right? As part of the allure of going to the USC is that they were in the Pac-12, which is a easier run to the playoff. And little did he know, he might have known already that USC was going to the Big Ten. I don't think so.
Right.
So it's on brand for Lincoln Riley, who, once again, I am no Matt Hayes when it comes to elite inside information, but
one of the best in the market for sure.
Yeah. What I've heard is Lincoln last year kind of checked out. It felt that way, and I've heard that he doesn't have the same drive as when he started at Oklahoma. And one thing I'll say from the Brian Kelly side of this is there's probably, Blake, a larger amount of LSU fans that want this to happen because they don't like the very difficult season opener. They have been burned 4 consecutive years with playing difficult season openers. But one thing that Brian Kelly has been very consistent on, and what Scott Woodward as well has been very consistent on, is if you look at all their actions and really pay attention and listen to every last thing that they say, Blake, they are very bold. They are very confident in themselves. When last year with Destin SEC League meetings, Scott Woodward was one of the first interviews that was up there with Paul Feinbaum, and he said, I want a 9-game conference schedule. Brian Kelly, 9-game conference schedule. There was no team that was more vocal about wanting a 9-game conference schedule, which is harder than LSU. Nobody, which is harder for everyone if you add an extra conference game, but LSU wanted it. LSU has been, told by fans and everyone, we don't want to play difficult season openers. LSU says, F you. We're strong. We're the Tigers. We're not backing out of Clemson. We're not backing out of USC. Maybe they are behind the scenes and waiting for the Clemson game. We don't know. But they're not afraid. They are bold. And for me, Blake, I like that. I really do. I think it's important to have that never back down mentality. Sure, it would be easier if you didn't play USC the very first game of the season. And let's just say the USC game was taken away. You could have replaced it with a non-Power 5 game and still had your out-of-conference Power 5 limited Power 5 team with UCLA already on the schedule. So it would have made perfect sense for LSU to do it. But you know what they said? They said, F you, Lincoln Riley. They said, F you. We're going to stay strong and we're going to play this game. And look, I love that.
Well, a couple of things that I thought about when you said that. Number one, Clemson's not scared to play anybody. They're playing Georgia again to open their season.
Oh, yeah. Now I want to say that about Clemson.
No, I know. I'm just saying, they're not scared to play anybody. Number one, I understand, why can't we get a game at home to start off a season? I think LSU fans would love to start off a game at home to start a season. And the last time you won an opener was when you started the season at home. That's legitimately, that season, that day, me being on the sidelines and saying, hey, Burrow was telling guys, no surrender. I get that. But LSU is going to get paid a massive amount of money to go to Vegas and play USC, right? No, they're not going to back out of that. But see, here's the problem I have with everything that is being reported. USC or the Big Ten wanting USC to back out. Why didn't you want UCLA to back out week 3 going on the road to Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Right? That it's a joke. They didn't tell USC that. And now, because I don't think that they did that, mainly due to the fact if USC goes into Vegas and wins, okay, hey, Big Ten school beats a prominent SEC. They didn't do that. They 100% didn't do that. So I miss me with this whole, Fox Sports wanted us to do it crap. Now, I want to get to something that you said in there, that you have heard that Lincoln has checked out a little bit. Checked out how? And what way?
I don't think he's a first one in, last one out kind of guy. I just don't. I have heard that a few times, and that kind of makes sense. I mean, but Blake, I'm a film analyst, but there's people that are way better at it than I am. And they were asking themselves, what the hell is this USC offense doing? And it wasn't just Caleb running out of the structure of the play. It was just, what is this? And I don't know if that was Cliff Kingsbury's influence. I hope it's not, because Cliff is going to be the OC for our favorite player, our favorite rookie quarterback next year. But I don't know. Like, it just
a lot of bad happened to them, right? Like, because they had so much success here. You know what? And you know what's crazy? Like, I'm not apologizing for Lincoln Riley. I do think he's scared. Like, you know, Oklahoma people were reporting when he left, they didn't want to go in the SEC, yada, yada, yada. But my issue is that why don't we give coaches a little bit more grace than we do? Meaning, like, he's had one bad year. And everybody is poo-pooing on him, right? Like, the truth is, he's had one bad year. Like, remember the years, Carter, when we were growing up, when Nick Saban could go to the school and be 6-6 and be like, oh, well, he's rebuilding, we got to give him time. Like, I'm not an apologist of Lincoln Riley, but he's not out of my top 15 head coaches in the country.
Oh, well, he's firmly in my top 5 to 10. I mean, he's
okay. Well, I was just being, conservative, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, the dude has done a lot of good. Now, here's the real thing that I wanted to tell you that I really thought about. The first thing that I thought about when I saw that article from Matt Hayes: LSU cannot lose now. You can't have a team that is reported to back out and then lose.
Oh, it
would be embarrassing.
And it's the easiest motivational tactic if you're Brian Kelly, right? Like, I couldn't imagine being in the USC locker room and being excited, for this game week 1, and then hearing, well, we really didn't want to play this game. Now, I will say this: I am very interested to see what Lincoln Riley has to say about this report. He's going to vehemently deny that this ever happened, and it's going to probably be one of those things where we'll never really know for sure how everything, went down. But what I would tell you, Blake, is this makes the motivation for Brian Kelly that much easier. Like, well, I didn't want to play you. They're scared of you. Take it to them. Choke them out. Do all those things. I mean, LSU, I do agree with you. Like, it's not just the week 1 curse that a lot of LSU fans have felt the pressure over the past couple of years. It's just taking advantage of business. All right. There's a lot of LSU fans, Blake, that have been excited about this game for a while. And one thing that's very interesting is Florida State had this amazing team last year, and Keon Coleman, Louisiana transfer, all those things. But I still remember the day when they announced LSU USC in Vegas. That generated a level of buzz unlike anything I've seen. And that was a game that was scheduled a year and a half, 2-ish years in advance. So LSU fans are very excited about this. And USC historians are really excited about this. I went on a USC show, I think roughly a year ago, and they had me on just to talk about 2003 USC versus 2003 LSU. So I'm super pumped up for this matchup.
Well, and for LSU fans, it's a revenge game because of what you just mentioned of 2003, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Look now, they try to take a national championship away from LSU. And that 2003 LSU team would have spanked the dog shit out of 03 USC. I'm fully confident in saying that.
Oh, spanked them.
Yeah, they would have spanked them.
I don't know about
Patty smacked.
I don't know about spank, but I do think I do think they would win. I do.
Okay, that's fair. Probably by like a touchdown, But
yeah.
Regardless, like, these are the kinds of things. And look, you know what, man? Like, this is a bad look for Lincoln Riley. What if he didn't want this. You know, like for an example, when Oklahoma fans left, their thing was, oh, he didn't want to go in the SEC. What is that true? Or was it true that he got offered $10.5 million to a private institution? By the way, in his contract, he can use a private plane whenever he wants. Like, I mean, like there are some things that I'm like, no, maybe money was talking here.
In LA, I mean, look, LA's a great place to live if you got money.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you, Blake. I still think Lincoln Riley is a fantastic coach, and I will never back down of saying that he was my number one candidate for LSU.
Well,
but
and that adds to it now. Like, right? Like that adds to it because that was a lot of people thought LSU was going after Lincoln Riley. They didn't. And you're never going to convince me, like now that we're kind of out of it. Scott Woodward was talking to the same agent, Trace Armstrong, which Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley had the same one.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. You mean to tell me that those conversations didn't come up? You're going to sit here and tell me that the conversation didn't come up with Scott Woodward about Lincoln Riley wanting out of Norman?
Oh, it definitely did. Yeah, that was a weird time because I released a video saying that he was my number one candidate, and I said $12 million. You can go back and look at the thumbnail. And then it was like a week later, your buddy Jay Crane or someone like that actually said, hey, there's rumors LSU Lincoln Riley $12 million. I think you remember that, correct?
Yeah, I remember that. But you know what's even crazier, Carter? I mean, the truth is, in the last year of his contract, if you realize the last year of Lincoln's contract, he gets $12 million a year.
Yeah,
like, I mean, your reporting wasn't wrong.
Yeah, and I will say this: my stuff was not reporting. I was just saying what I would have done as the athletic director.
But you're not wrong though.
Yeah.
You know,
but that was my thinking at the time. I'd spoken to someone I trust in the industry and saying that that's about where coaching salaries were going, and it makes sense. Like I still to this day am.
I mean, Kirby's making 13.5 this year,
and
right?
and that and he's still underpaid. He's still underpaid.
I agree with that. I mean, considering the fact, Carter, that you're going to go into a playoff you could play one game in the playoff and make an extra $20 million. So for TV revenue money, you're going to make $70 million.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we discussing here, bro? Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, I will say this. Last thing on this. Don't play around with them. Like, I know we're in May, and you know there's a long way until August. You know, whatever. Don't play around with them because this is what I keep hearing before we get more into LSU stuff. I keep hearing from LSU fans, "Oh, USC's defense sucks." I'm just they got a better D-line than you do.
Yeah, and Coach Lynn is coming over with a lot.
Great defensive coordinator, Yancey Lynn.
Yeah, and he mixes up everything. Now, did he have the best pass rushing duo in the country last year? Probably, but if you actually watch him, he had a lot of these simulated pressures that are difficult to pick up, and I like that matchup for LSU because LSU has a good offensive line, and it's critical to have an offensive line that communicates. So it's going to be a big game for DJ Chester. But I'm with you, Blake. I mean, it is rare that LSU plays a game where they do not have the best wide receiver on the field. And I think Kyron Lacy is fantastic. But Zachariah Branch has a real shot of being the best sophomore receiver in the country next year.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, and they're good. I mean, they've got plenty of talent. Deuce Robinson, their tight end's also a former 5-star, really good player. Had a big touchdown in the bowl game. So yeah, we'll see what the Fighting Miller Mosses will do. But
I like him.
Yeah,
look,
he's good.
I thought offensively when he was in, schematically they got better. More than Caleb, right? I mean, because he was so improvised heavy. He didn't go in Lincoln structure. You know what made Jalen Hurts elite that year in 2019? He played with inside the structure. Oh, he got so much better. Okay, yeah, that's true. But you do realize he played in like play calling is like plays work because the way that they're designed to work, right? Like those are the reasons why plays work. Now you need athletes to do it. I'm not saying you don't, but the reason plays work is because it works the way it's designed. When you improvise too much, Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly, right? Like, I mean, don't put everybody in that same category. Brett Favre is an anomaly. You know, like Brett Favre saying he didn't know what dime and nickel coverage was until he got in the NFL. And Doug Peterson, of all people, is the one that told him, well, they run out a linebacker and put on a corner. Oh, that's it? Yeah. Okay, whatever. Yeah. What? Like what? So, again, I'm just like those things don't happen every day. Now, let me transition to one thing because I think – and I'm going to say this, and I am going to get ripped for this. The biggest piece of LSU news during this spring window happened this past week. You want to know what it is?
I already know what it is. All right, I'm going to guess.
Read my mind.
LSU got a punter.
LSU got a punter. Louisiana Tech punter Blake Oschendorf has committed to LSU, is in the portal. 6'6", 219 punter who averaged 45.7 yards per punt last year. Now, here's the interesting thing. Carter, do you know who the best punter in college football last year was?
It was a punter at Iowa.
My man, that's why you're the best at this.
Yeah.
Corey Taylor was the best punter in college football last year. He averaged 46.1 yards per punt last year. Oschendorf was 45.7. Now, you're talking about legitimately being in the conversation with one of the best punters in college football the last 3 years. He's in that conversation with him. Down in the ball inside the 20, yards per punt. Carter, people will just ridicule me for this. The biggest offseason spring news was getting this kid. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, big time. I'm with you.
You don't sound so enthused.
No. Well, I read this comment from Moist. My condolences, man. Put Moist's comment. I never like if I see a comment that really strikes me, I'll bring it up, man.
Oh man.
My condolences. Moist says,
I'm so sorry for your dad, man. Yeah, Moist had been coming in here and giving us updates. Moist, I'm sorry for that, man. It sucks, man.
Well, is he your classmate or my classmate? I don't.
Hey Carter, glad to see my classmate succeeding. I guess he's talking about you. I don't know a Moist.
Yeah, Moist, send me a message, man. I'll send you some LSU cards or something.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Really. But yeah, as far as the punter is concerned, Blake, man, we talked about this privately, and I'm glad, publicly, because you really don't ever bring up the punter. Mm-hmm. This was a ginormous addition. Even if for some reason he is not the guy next year, which he probably will be, they needed some competition. Jamie Keene was just not cutting it. And look,
I mean, your boy from West Monroe, forgive me, the punter,
Jamie Keene. Yeah.
No, who was the other one? The lefty. The 5-star punter kid that we had. You know what I'm talking about?
I think that's Keene, right? No, not Jamie Keene. Peyton Todd. Why was I saying Jamie Keene?
Yeah, Peyton Todd.
Jamie Keene's an old Australian punter for LSU.
Right.
Peyton Todd. They needed competition versus Peyton Todd.
It's not a competition. So, Carter, I'm sorry. It's over. As soon as the kid committed, it was over.
Yeah. So I've got to be real, man. This was a huge W for LSU.
Massive
W. It just wasn't. He's just not been the same person. So the way I understand it, Peyton Todd in high school was like a superstar athlete. He played some linebacker as well, and he had an injury his final year of high school football. And it's just not worked out. And, his first year, I believe Avery Atkins beat him out, and then Jay Bramblett came in, and Bramblett was a pretty good punter. But, last year, Blake, LSU didn't need a punter. They just didn't, because Jaden was scoring every time.
But you know what? It changes play calling, because if you like Carter, for example, I know that you only punted like 25 times last year, but could you have imagined punting the ball 45 yards?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I like Jay Bramblett. I'm not saying I don't, but I don't mean this in the wrong way. My man shanked a lot of punts.
He did not have his best year
at all.
He would probably tell you that. And it could just be because he rarely punted. It was a weird year. But the truth is, if you think, whoever you are watching this right now, if you think LSU's offense is going to take a step back in some way, which they will, right? You don't just lose Jaden Malik and BTJ and just not have some type of transition period. They're still going to be a very good offense, but you're going to punt the football probably one more time a game at the very least compared to what you did last year.
Oh, I mean, if you punt 50 times, if you punted 25 times last year, Carter, let's double it. I mean, two more a game. I mean, that's not anywhere close to being out of the stretch of the imagination. I mean, LSU had 16 possessions against Wisconsin, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I memean,
that was almost, Carter, as an example, Jaden got 11 and a half.
Right.
So,
and look, what's very interesting is, and we talked about this at length, Blake, LSU in the preseason SP Plus ratings has the number 3 analytically rated offense, according to ESPN's Bill Connolly. In some
but he's so elite with that stuff that he does.
Yeah,
Bill,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's not necessarily how he feels. I don't feel LSU has the 3rd best offense in the country. I still think they're firmly in the top 10, but the analytics show the LSU offense is still going to be pretty good. I still think, though, you're going to have to punt the football just a few times more. Maybe if it's 10, 15, 20 times more. You cannot have a shaky punter, and only having one on the team. You needed to bring at least someone in, and you bring someone in that has had a lot of success. And he's older, right? A lot. If you really look, okay, and this is kind of crazy when you think about it, LSU's punters throughout history have mostly been older guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Van Rosenberg was an older
97 in punting.
Right.
He graduated the year after I did.
Right. He was an older guy with his baseball career. And then, of course, Avery Atkins was his final year. And then Jay Bramblett were his final 2 years of eligibility. So punters are normally like older, right? It's rare that you have a true freshman punter or just a younger punter, come in. And this guy is in that same ilk. He's been playing college football for a while. So I'm really excited. Great name as well. I'm really excited to see Blake next year.
Yeah. And again, look, I think we got lost, because the freshman class, which I'm going to bring up to you next, the freshman class started their workouts today, right? Today, like, they're on campus, they're starting out workouts, or guys that are there for the first time. Okay, like JVR Suggs is there, Gio Paez was there, a lot of different guys, and all the rest of the freshman class that weren't here in the spring. Adding this kid is the biggest piece of news, because I know a lot of people are very high on Nussmeier. So am I. I think now is the time that he's ready. Now, 2 years ago, I was the champion of, no, he's not ready to overtake Jaden Daniels, and a lot of people disagreed. I was never in that camp. As you know very, very clearly, I was never in that camp. He needed to grow up, okay? the problem that I have with people saying Nussmeier this, Nussmeier that, okay, even though I agree, you're going to Carter, September the 1st is going to be his second start. So what if he comes in and Bryce Young's this thing, okay, in reference to starts that he has and has this immaculate run, it's not the norm.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is not the norm. Check the ball down. And you know what, Carter? It also helps him because you know what? Hey, man, we can check the ball down and I don't have to force something. Maybe our defense is better and we can play field position. Like I am so miss me with, well, in the days new modern college football, you can't play good defense and play field position. What have the last 3 national champions done? What have they done? Okay, Carter, you legitimately had your national champion run the ball 42, 43 straight times and win a football game against a top 10 opponent. What did they do? Field position, run the football. Miss me with that you can't win games like that. I just think adding that piece gives you a little bit more comfort. And I got to be honest, I think it was the biggest need of LSU more than defensive tackle. Punter was a more bigger issue because, Carter, if like I saw these guys during spring, they might have averaged 30, 35 yards a punt. That's unacceptable because you're going to be in a 4th down situation where you need a punt. And if you can't flip the field, then you're in big trouble because if teams are going to be able to get the ball at the 35 or 40 versus getting them at the 20, 15, 10, it's a massive difference. Massive difference. So, look, DT has been a big thing. You know what's interesting? Look, I was told last week that this kid had committed, okay, and was coming. That's why when he committed, we were on it, whatever. I am still completely shocked that they didn't go after a running back, but that's just me. Carter,
I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. Like I've thought about it nonstop, and you know, I've had deep thoughts about it. Not like there's some things that I think about all the time, which is like I spoke to a big college basketball insider. Why can't Georgetown be good at basketball again? I grew up with Iverson and all those guys. But one thing that I've discussed is why didn't they go get another running back? I never quite understood that. But if you want to go into the season with only 3 scholarship backs, maybe they have more information on Trey Holly than the public does. And if that's the case, then sure, I guess you could be fine there. But man, like it does make me wildly uncomfortable with the 3 scholarship backs. And Caden, as you know, Blake, Caden Durham is my number 1 player in this class. Like I think he is really, really, really good. It's just 3 is very low. It's very, very low.
South Carolina went in the season with 3 last year, and they had to move a quarterback to back up their running back.
So I was like, well, who else on the team could play running back? And it's Harold Perkins that keeps coming back to my mind.
You can't move him.
I don't think you can either. I don't think he wants to either. But
well, can you do some gadget plays with him in the red zone? Go right on the head. Be my guest. Okay, like we saw Texas do it a lot last year. Be my guest. We saw the Patriots do it in their dynasty run. Be my guest. Okay, like I'm fine with that. Handing them the ball off 10 times in a game is look, can he beat Travis Hunter? Sure. Okay, like fine. But when your defense is struggling that much, I'd be missed with it. Now, let me go off with this. The freshman class reported today they're working out. Anything catch your eye with the newcomers coming in?
Not real. I mean, they're basically just moving in and getting acclimated and all that stuff. So that's always a good thing. I am very interested to see where Trades Green fits in all of this, right? You know, he's got so much hype, Blake. And he, according to the services, he is the number 1 offensive player that LSU brought in. And he is from Louisiana. A very similar skill set to that of Kamarion Pimpton, but I've heard from, you know, a few that they feel Trades could be one of the top 4 receiving options on the team next year. And I'm like, whoa, it's a lot. That is a lot, knowing how deep LSU's receiving room is. So he is probably the most intriguing player to me because he doesn't feel a big immediate need, because LSU does have a very, very good tight end, and they do have really, really good wide receiver options and pass catchers and playmakers. And LSU was very excited with what they saw from Pimpton throughout spring and in the spring game. But if you're special, you got to be on the field. And if Trey'Dez Green steps out there, and some people do feel he is special, and then you got to find a way to work him in. So I'm very interested to see what happens here.
Well, look, I'm going to make a wild comparison, but stay with me through the entirety of it. Why did LSU baseball make a run in the SEC tournament? They made a run because their freshman class finally started to grow up. Jake Brown, Ashton Larson, Stephen Milam, clearly with the big bomb to win the game. This is another thing that's a pet peeve of mine in sports. True freshmen coming in and playing and having massive impacts. I think that we have become a microwave society of expecting Carter, if he doesn't catch a pass next year, quite honestly, okay. Do I want to see him? Sure. But miss me again with the guys got to come in and offense. So somebody who, and Bill Conley, just for people who don't know, Bill has no fight in the game. 0. Right? Carter, the likelihood of a true freshman coming in and let's just say they're a top 3 offense again to his standard. The likelihood of a freshman coming in and changing a lot of the things aren't that likely. Right? Ohio State, you don't see that. You've seen receivers do it. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't break through at Ohio State. You've seen it at Bama. Now, some have and some can, and that's fine. You got to give the kid time. And you know what else you got to do? You got to give LSU time to figure out what best works for him and what they do. Right? Yeah. And that's something that we miss. Carter, is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Okay, well, what happens, God forbid, against Ole Miss when Prince Yellen, is on the edge and he's got a chip blocking? There are things that you got to take into account that we don't know yet. And I got to be honest. I don't know him. I don't know about him as an inline blocker.
I don't either. Yeah.
And so is he a receiving nightmare and freak of nature? 1,000,000,000%. The problem is he can't be on the field on only passing downs and you tip your hand. Right.
Exactly.
So you got to find ways to use him. Debo Atkins.
That's my guy, man. It's
got a haircut. My man put on some weight. I'm hearing some things about him showing up, telling kids that he's coming.
Yeah, Blake, he is the best interview I've ever had on my channel, especially compared to expectations. There was I had so much excitement going into interviewing Patrick Queen and stuff like that. When I went into interview Xavier Atkins at this card show, I knew about him. I knew about his story. I didn't know he would blow my mind with everything. His story, his football acumen, all of it. And man, I'm not going to just say it from an interview, but when you watch him, there is explosion. There is creativity. There is playmaking ability. There's ball skills. There's sideline to sideline ability. And he knows the history. He was breaking down Patrick Queen's plays to me. This guy is very hungry. And, his move to Texas, Blake, was kind of a bet on himself. He there was a lot of people in the circle that said, don't do it. And he was like, no, I want to increase the level of competition and see what I can do at a higher level. And he was incredible. His tape is breathtakingly dominant. So I've held back a little bit talking about him because, I know this kid fairly well. Now, I'm not going to say we're boys or whatever, but we texted a few times. I hope he's great, and I think he can be great, man.
You know what's funny? He was a 3-star recruit, and the reason he was a 3-star recruit is because he had over 100 tackles in 1A, 2A Louisiana football, right? And then you turn around and you ask these services, why is he still a 3-star when he did it in 6A Texas football? Like,
Yeah.
what's your excuse now? So
he's good. He's really good. I think he's going to be really good.
We will see how. I think he's a day one special teams guy, right? Like day one, snap one, play one. Here's what I think about this freshman class as a whole. I think they give you an edge that you've been missing. Defensively, specifically. I think that guys like Caden Durham, guys like Debo, etc., give you an edge that you did not have. I will tell you my biggest complaint. Last year, they had dudes. They didn't have dudes. Like, I think that there's this guys on this freshman class that will run down head first and sacrifice everything that they have to bust someone's head wide open.
Yeah.
I don't think you had that the last few years. I legitimately don't. I know 3 right now that in this freshman class that or have that mold. So we'll see. Carter Bryant joining us. Carter, before I get you out of here, can we go around the SEC very quickly?
Let's do it, man.
Jaden Rashada case. Me and you did not talk about this, I don't think. But Jaden Rashada is suing Billy Napier and Florida boosters for mismanaging the situation, told them they were going to give him $1 million if he signed. And we all know the story by now with what happened with Jaden Rashada. Everything we heard is what he put in the lawsuit. My thing is not for us to recap that. Did you see Billy Napier at SEC meetings yesterday?
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to ask you what were yours, but here I'll give you mine. Boy, that's a lot of confidence for someone who allegedly did something very wrong.
That is what really shocked me as well, because normally in the early stages of this, you just say it's ongoing litigation. It's what every PR pro just tells you to do. Even if you feel confident, well, it's an ongoing investigation. It's an ongoing thing. No, he just said, hey, I like where we are. Right? You know, I think
but he didn't say that. He said, I feel confident in everything that I did. And I was like, God damn. It's going to be very interesting to see, because, Carter, what happens if Jaden Rashada is lying?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, can I be honest with you? I think the SEC should suspend him.
Hold on. So someone's knocking on my door, and it's driving my dog crazy. So I do have to go. I don't. It's like very aggressive. I think someone's trying to break.
You think someone's trying to break into your house?
Hold on. Let me see if I'm okay. Hold on one second.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep him up here just in case someone is breaking into your house. We can call the police. This might be the wildest turn of events that we've ever had on AYS. Watch it be like the neighbor saying, hey, do you have some, I don't know. Well, I just legitimately hope that Carter is going to be okay here. Scream if you need help.
No, I'm here. I'm okay.
Okay.
No. It's someone. Look, now my dog's really barking. I got it. But honestly, I don't. Do I think Rashada has been? Rashada has been entirely truthful in this process. I don't know. I mean, the Miami side of this is what really fascinates me. It really, really, really does.
Why is that?
Because it kind of really felt like Florida was just trying to like swing its nuts, saying, look at us. We 13 million. We just outbid Miami, and it looks like Florida was just overly ambitious, and whatever the case may be, it just didn't work out. And now we're in this spot. I still think Kirby going to get him is still like the funniest thing. Like it
And
is
not only that, them agreeing that he could go through this litigation.
exactly. I'm just like, God, Kirby just loves trolling his rivals. Like he really, really, really does. With Etienne and now Rashada. I mean, the guy is
Petty.
really he is that dude, man. And then obviously, I don't know. I'm not going to say I like Kirby Smart because he is just really freaking good, but this guy just he takes it personal when he's doing something that hurts his rival more than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the T-Rob saga, going to get their D-backs coach and taking him from Alabama, and then Alabama wanting him back, potentially being the DC, and then you bring him back. It is amazing how much Kirby understands that this game is a zero-sum game, right? If you hurt the teams that you play, it helps you in a major way. Not only is it helping you, it's hurting a team that you have to play every single season. So I have always found that very interesting about him. But there you go. But nobody broke him, Blake. Thankfully, it could have just been my psyche.
Somebody was trying to come ask and see if you had some lemony twang.
I'm all about that lemony twang. You know.
In reference to Rashada, I do think that there is some lying going on. Okay. And I said this, okay, like last week on Rufino and Joe show. I understand that you can call Billy Napier a shitty person for, like, let's just say they did offer him $1 million and then he signed, they didn't give it to him. Yeah, okay. But what you going to do to him? Because the NCAA, number one, said that we're not investigating NIL issues. And it comes back to the point for me when I legitimately, and I believe, I've said this before, I legitimately believe that I was on an island when it came to the whole Tennessee Nico Iamaleava thing, right? When everybody was like, Blake, you've lost your freaking mind. They're picking on Tennessee. Screw the NCAA. But now you see this, and now y'all want law and order. See, I think the most hypocritical thing in all of college athletics is this. We need regulation, but when the NCAA investigates Florida and Tennessee, you want nothing to do. You
didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Like, oh, well, they didn't do anything wrong. No, here's the truth. You can't have boosters, right, wrong, or indifferent, flying a kid from God knows how far, okay, and telling them you're going to give them X, Y, and Z and not come to fruition, okay? You got to have guidelines. And if the NCAA would have popped Tennessee and if they would have popped Florida, it would have been the right thing to do for college athletics because it would have told everybody else around this sucker, hey, man, I get you. NIL's legal. You better go by legal by your state or we're going to pop your ass. Here's number two. Tampering. Like they could be going after teams for tampering all the live long day. I know this for a fact. This is not LSU related. I know of a team in the former SEC East that turned in 12 schools last year for tampering. And you hate this team. You think their schedule is too soft. Okay? So when the NCAA said, oh, okay, well, never mind, they went out and tampered their damn selves and had a damn good portal class. So the bottom line becomes, I am so tired of people saying that they want law and order, but when the law starts knocking on your door, it's funny because someone was knocking at yours, but when the law comes and knocks at your door, you just sit there with your hand between your butt, okay, and the NCAA sucks. No, LSU fans hate the NCAA because of what happened with Will Wade. Here's the facts. Will Wade cheated. He cheated, okay, and he got caught.
The damn strong off. It's all made up. The wire. It's all made up.
The wiretap was made up. The $27,000 to Javonte Smart was made up. All that shit was made up. The federal court system that legitimately had him testifying about wiretap fraud. All that shit was made up, right? So we get to a place where, okay, we look at it from a 25,000 foot view. What's the reality? The reality is what we should have been doing as sports fans, whether you agree with me or not, is saying, you know what, NCAA, pop their ass. Because you know what would have happened? People would have been more chill. And teams would have been more chill because they knew that they could get popped. But meanwhile, Nico Iamaleava is on a 757 jet, okay, being flied halfway across the country. By the way, you're going to convince me that there wasn't a duffel bag full of money on that jet?
Oh, there was some. It might not have been a McDonald's bag. It could have been a Wendy's bag. It could have.
Regardless, I don't care if it was a whole bag of Jack Daniels, Rudy Poo, whatever it was. I don't care. But the bottom line is, you call for law and order, but when the law comes knocking, you hate them. That is the biggest. Carter, listen, you've done over 1,000 episodes of radio and podcasting. We've done damn near 1,000 just on this show and even on Ruffino and Joe show. It's our jobs. The shit that we read, the shit that we hear, all this stuff. Okay, the bottom line becomes, if you're going to escape law and order, like, let me ask you this. Only in a video game could you tamper with a kid, okay, and you not get caught. But this is happening in real life, right? Like, this is so ridiculous. Do you think that? Let me ask you this: Do you think I was wrong about going after Tennessee, knowing what we know now about the Jaden Rashada stuff?
No, I mean, you were just going by what the rules said at the time.
Right.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You can't do what they did, but I think, Blake, a lot of college football teams are like, okay, well, if we don't be vocal against what went wrong against Tennessee, now that we have leeway to do what they did, right? And
right,
I think that's why you didn't hear as much like vocal support, like vocal call outs.
I had the number, the guys over at Big Orange Video Vids or whatever they call, their main guy came on this show, and I questioned him. Is it illegal to be on a plane with a booster? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's still against the rules to be on a plane with a booster, regardless if NIL is a thing or not. And what is the federal court system supposed to do? By the way, everybody keeps trying to tell me with this. Did you see the NCAA House ruling came into effect?
Yeah.
Everybody is so wrong in thinking that this is going to change any kind of guideline. Oh, well, now that this is over, we can really start getting some things in place, some guidelines in place. How? Carter, this is so funny that we have the video game coming up in July. The Ed O'Bannon case was the thing that blew it wide open, right? The funny thing, and the funny thing about all of this is, if you're going to overturn it, you got to go to the Supreme Court to overturn it. So if a player doesn't get NIL, or if a booster wants to go after a recruit for NIL, you got to go to the Supreme Court to do it. But the NCAA House case is supposed to change these guidelines, right?
Maybe they're thinking, well, we're not going to have as much of this because now players are directly getting compensated by the schools.
It's going to get worse.
You think so?
I think it gets worse. But, well, let me back up. I don't think it gets worse. Let me tell you what I think happens. I think that people are so naive to think that this is going to slow things down. If players getting TV revenue is going to slow things down. Okay. You mean to tell me that boosters are going to stop paying kids to come to their school? That's what this is really all about. This has nothing to do with players getting paid. It's everybody spending money to get recruits to their school. This isn't the NFL. You don't have a draft. Right?
Players still control their destiny. Basically.
Players still control their destiny. So with that being said, do you mean to tell me that a school's biggest booster is not going to continue to give money to make his school better with recruits? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I do agree it'll continue to happen. What I'll also say is I am very interested to see if this 85 roster limit thing comes to fruition. where
explain for people who haven't seen this.
Yeah, so they're basically trying to get rid of walk-ons,
which the SEC today or yesterday, excuse me, stood firm in saying that they will not be eliminating walk-ons.
Yeah, and I think there is some good in that. Keeping the roster at 85, because there is still a lot of value that walk-ons have. Basically, what they're trying to do is prevent like really good players from being walk-ons and their scholarship get funded through NIL and other means, right? So,
but the problem with it doing that, in which they don't realize, walk-ons don't get TV revenue share.
They don't. And
so why would you do that? Why would you add a kid as a walk-on if he doesn't get TV? Carter, the 85 divided by 20 million is $244,000. You think those kids don't want to be on scholarship?
They do. So they're still concerned, though, that you could still get an 86th player and he'd be like a 4 or 5 star, and you still be.
You mean like Carmani McClain?
Exactly. So that does concern some, and I've tried to confirm if Carmani is for sure a walk-on. Most things I've heard is that he is indeed a walk-on.
Yeah, Nick Del Toro reported that he is walking on. Billy Napier gave him an ultimatum.
So, like, that takes away the spirit of being a walk-on. You know, like he's not a walk-on, right?
Well, his case is different, right? He wanted to go back home. He wanted to go to Florida. Billy said, "If you're gonna be here, you got to walk on." I think the kid was kicked down by a big-time coach, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was all bullshit. I think Deion saying everything he said was all bullshit. I would never look. I like Deion. I like Deion for my bottom line. Okay, because every time we talk Deion on Ruffino and Joe show, my money goes way up. Okay, but here's the truth of the matter. All right, Deion is a horrible head coach.
He's bad.
I would never send my son to go play for him. Not right now, anyway.
Yeah, I would, and I'm like you. I know you weren't saying this as well, but I don't just like Deion for the bottom line. I mean, he's done a lot of good things, but
100%.
He is not a good college football coach.
No, he is not.
And I'm not just talking about like now. I'm talking about like actual in-game college football coaching. He is atrocious. But
Carter, they went for it. I saw the stat on PFF like 2 weeks ago. Did you know they led the nation at fourth down attempts with 4th and 7+?
That's a lot. And I'm an aggressive 4th down guy. That's a lot.
4th and 7+. By the way, do you know that they dropped back 91% of the time last year?
And they wonder why their O-line was bad. They knew it was coming. I mean, and their O-line was bad. I'm not going to deny that. But
well, I mean, Carter, it's difficult to block a guy when they know that you're passing that you're going to throw the ball every down.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's impossible. Like that Kamara kid from Colorado State that got drafted. You know what he said after the game? He legitimately, in a post-game press conference, said, I legitimately gave up on doing anything with the run. I legitimately rushed the passer every single play.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to get into like Kermani like specifically in his situation with Deion, but I just do not see this ending well. I just don't.
And that's fine. But you know what? If you're getting a kid that's a freshman, it is your job to mold them. Okay, it's your job to lead them. And it's your job. Here's something very crazy. It's your job to find out about the kid in in-home visits.
Right. But, you know, I honestly think North Dakota State's going to beat them week 1. I do.
I don't think they will because I still think that they're going to out-athlete them. I like North Dakota State a lot. I just think that, I mean, look, Colorado's got some players now.
Yeah, no, Travis Hunter's the best player. Either him or Will Campbell are the best players in the sport.
You know what I just noticed? Is your hat on the last button?
It is. Like, I just, like, so a viewer, Tyler Townsend.
Oh yeah, Tyler's in here all the time.
Yeah, he made this hat. Tyler's become a good friend, and he sent me an autographed Morris Claiborne jersey.
No shit.
Yeah, it was like totally random. Morris Claiborne Cowboys jersey, and I hate the Cowboys. So when I opened the package, I was like, "Man, why would this dude send me a Cowboys jersey?" And it was a Mo Claiborne autographed Cowboys jersey. But his buddy started a hat company, and he had just heard me talk about it, and then he heard my segment with you about this. But he had already made the hat, and I told him, I was like, Tyler, it's not going to fit. So I put it on, and I'm trying to wear it, but you see there's like a little red mark already forming when I put this on. Well, so the only hat that fits me is this my original PHO hat, but that's because I've literally had to stretch this thing out.
That's what she said. You know, there is a hat company that does these things where you can they custom fit your head to make your hat perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called melon.com.
Oh, Melon does it?
Yeah, what people do is they use the promo code AYS and they get 30% off. How crazy is that?
I'm gonna look into melon.com because that certainly describes my head.